Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States suffers a stroke. Hello, my dear friends. My name is Dr. Juni. Please go ahead and make yourself comfortable. I want to welcome you very warmly to this life-saving explainer today. Now, I'm purposely speaking to you slowly and deliberately because I really need you to listen very carefully to what we're about to discuss. The information in this presentation carries profound power. You see, in those absolute crucial moments of a medical emergency, before any emergency drugs or hospital scans can get to you, your body actually has a built-in survival system. 40. As I just mentioned at the start, every 40 seconds, someone in the US suffers a stroke. But what if I told you that simply lying on your living room floor and just changing the rhythm of your breath for 3 minutes could actually stop permanent brain damage before the ambulance even turns onto your street? It's true. You see, your brain is kind of like a vast, vibrant city at night. Millions of lights are powered by this constant flowing electrical grid. Your brain accounts for only about 2% of your body mass, and yet it fiercely consumes more than 20% of the oxygen in your blood. It has a massive, constant need for that oxygen just to keep those city lights on. Let's start with section 1, the brain under attack. So what actually happens when that beautiful city comes under attack? Well, it doesn't usually start with some sudden, dramatic collapse. It starts quietly, subtly, almost politely even. A delicate little blood pathway gets blocked, and a small part of that vibrant city simply goes dark. Now, because the brain doesn't have pain receptors, you literally cannot feel this blockage happening. Sometimes a blood clot blocks the vessel for just a few seconds. A section of the brain goes dark, and then the lights come right back on. This is what we call a TIA, or a transient ischemic attack. A lot of folks brush this off. They assume they're just overly tired, or they tell themselves, oh, I just stood up too fast. But let me be absolutely clear with you. A TIA is your brain pulling the fire alarm. It is a desperate warning that a massive stroke might be moments away. Dismissing it is a deadly mistake. When the numbness fades, it's so easy to relax and think we're safe, but we aren't. When those symptoms fade, the biological countdown clock has officially started ticking. Moving on to section 2, Margaret's sudden stroke. I'd like to introduce you to Margaret. Margaret is a lovely 68-year-old woman. She was having a totally peaceful morning, just standing in her kitchen making her coffee. There was absolutely no warning, no pain at all. Suddenly, the heavy ceramic cup just slipped right out of her hand and shattered on the floor. Her left arm completely refused to respond. She tried to call out to her husband, but the words came out all scrambled and broken. One side of her face began to droop heavily. Margaret was having a sudden stroke. And in these precise moments, biology is incredibly unforgiving. Brain cells begin to die in just 5 minutes without oxygen-rich blood. This is the urgent, strict biology of our brains. If a blood clot travels and strikes a critical area, like the frontal lobe for instance, a person can suddenly lose their ability to think clearly, to form memories, or to move their body. Permanent damage begins terrifyingly fast. Now, if the stroke attacks the left side of the brain, it often causes a truly devastating condition called aphasia. There are 2 main types that you really must understand. In receptive aphasia, the person cannot comprehend the words being spoken to them. Your comforting voice simply sounds like a foreign language. But in expressive aphasia, the person understands you perfectly, but they literally cannot formulate the words to respond back. They know exactly what they want to say, but their mouth just cannot produce the sounds. Because their internal logic remains totally intact, you can imagine the deep, profound frustration and the severe depression these patients go through. But what if the stroke hits the right hemisphere? That's our center of creativity and spatial awareness. While a right brain stroke causes left-sided weakness, but it also causes this incredibly strange reality called left side neglect. The patient might completely ignore the left side of their own body and the space around them. Furthermore, they often become unusually impulsive and live in absolute denial about their new limitations. For Margaret, her symptoms were undeniable, but please remember this phrase. This habit of endurance can be deadly. My dear friends, I know exactly how you were raised. You were raised to endure discomfort quietly. You rely on quiet stoicism. You don't want to bother anyone. You don't want to make a fuss or a scene, and I absolutely validate that strength. But in a medical emergency, when you are facing a drooping face or sudden weakness, this reaction is incredibly dangerous. Do not wait to see if it passes. Let's look at section 3, the yaw gravity technique. Instead of silently enduring those symptoms, I want you to use the specific, scientifically validated physical technique that Margaret actually used. This very technique protected her brain before the ambulance even arrived, and an ER physician later said it likely prevented permanent brain damage for her. First, rule number 1, do not panic. I know it's hard, but panic causes rapid, shallow breathing that tightens up your blood vessels and strips away that precious oxygen. Your absolute first priority is safety. So step 1, sit down immediately. Step 2, lie completely flat on your back on the floor or on a bed so you don't fall. And step 3, elevate your legs about 12 inches using pillows, couch cushions, or even a chair. Why do we do this? Because you are literally turning gravity into a medical tool. This single posture change forces the blood that has pooled down in your legs to return to your chest and pump upward, right back to your starving brain. But just changing your posture isn't quite enough. We have to combine it with controlled breathing. I want you to practice this with me right now, wherever you're sitting. Are you ready? Inhale gently through your nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold that breath in your lungs for 2 seconds. 1, 2. And now exhale very slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This specific 4-2-6 breathing pattern drastically increases your blood's oxygen content, and it stabilizes your blood pressure during a catastrophic event. It buys you precious time. Now, while you lie there and breathe, someone absolutely must call emergency services. Immediate action is required because of a tiny, critical window, 3 to 4.5 hours. If the doctors at the hospital determine you're having an ischemic stroke, which is the kind caused by a clot, you might be a candidate for a miraculous clot-dissolving drug called TPA. But there is a very strict catch here. It can only be given within 3 to 4.5 hours from the exact moment your symptoms started. This is exactly why time is everything. That brings us to section 4, the FAST test. To make sure you act in time, we use a crucial little memory tool called the FAST test. Let me spell it out slowly for you. F is for face. Ask the person to smile. Does one side of their face droop? I is for arms. Ask them to raise both of their arms. Does one arm drift helplessly downward? S is for speech. Ask them to repeat a very simple sentence. Are the words slurred at all? And T is for time. It is time to act. Note the exact time the symptoms started on the clock and call for help immediately. Now, if a stroke does happen, surviving it is really only the first chapter. Dysphagia is a very dangerous, hidden post-stroke complication. You see, a stroke can paralyze your throat muscles, which causes food to silently pouch in a weakened cheek when you're eating. If that food slips down into the lungs instead of the stomach, it causes severe pneumonia. Sometimes, simply teaching a survivor to tuck their chin down to their chest while swallowing can literally save their life. Let's move to section 5, the strokes happen mnemonic. Away from the acute emergency of a stroke, how do we stop one from ever happening in the first place? To remember the daily risks we must proactively guard against, just think of the phrase, strokes happen. Here is the first half. S is for smoking, which just destroys your vessel walls over time. T is for unmanaged blood thinners. R is for rhythm changes, like atrial fibrillation, which causes blood to pool in the heart and form deadly little clots. O is for oral contraceptives. K is for kin, meaning your family history. E is for excessive weight. And S is for senior citizens, simply because our vessels naturally lose some of their resilience over time. And here is the second half, the word happen. H is for hypertension. High blood pressure is a truly silent killer. A is for atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of your arteries. P is for physical inactivity. The second P is for a previous TIA. Remember, never ever ignore those mini strokes. E is for elevated blood sugar because diabetes actually coats and hardens your delicate vessels with sugar. And finally, N is for an aneurysm, which is a bulging vessel just waiting to rupture. And finally, section 6, neuroplasticity and daily prevention. So, how do we fight back and prevent all this? The answer really lies in a single word: circulation. When blood moves freely, the brain thrives, and we have the incredible power to encourage this every single day. I want to prescribe you a daily routine called the morning activation. Tomorrow morning, before you even stand up, sit on the edge of your bed, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Then, pump your calves by lifting your heels and your toes for 1 full minute. Your calf muscle is actually known as your body's second heart. Pumping it forcefully pushes blood upward to your brain. Then, slowly rotate your shoulders and your neck. Research actually shows this simple little morning ritual improves brain blood flow by nearly 20%. And of course, what you eat matters just as much, 30%. A massive 2023 Harvard study found that seniors who followed a Mediterranean diet, which is rich in beautiful salmon, leafy greens, berries, and olive oil, reduced their risk of stroke recurrence by a staggering 30%. Your daily choices really do form an incredible armor for your brain. And if a stroke has already touched your life, I really want to comfort you here. Your brain is not a rigid, broken machine. It is a living, incredibly adaptable network. We call this neuroplasticity. Think of your brain kind of like a city's road system. If a major highway gets blocked by a stroke, the traffic does not stop forever. The brain reroutes. Side streets slowly become the new main roads. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic movement, even just seated in a chair, can send biological messages to reopen those circuits. It is truly never too late to rebuild. Let us remember Margaret. When the stroke attacked her brain that morning, she didn't freeze. She sat down, she laid flat, she elevated her legs, and she breathed. By the time the paramedics arrived, her speech had already begun to return. Readiness is power, my friends, not fear. So I want to leave you with this final empowering question. Will you practice the 4-2-6 breathing technique tonight before you go to sleep? Make it an instinct. Your body will always give you a fighting chance. You just need to know how to listen to it and how to help it fight back. Thank you so much for learning with me today.